Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing week 1 of college football right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. Joe Duffy has been a survivor, a winner in this business for 30 years, and we're very lucky to have him previewing a ton of games with us this year in football. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, Rice and Notre Dame is what we're going to cover right now. Before we get to it, give a plug for OffshoreInsiders.com. Brag a little bit about how well you've done in recent years at your website, because that's what everyone cares about, right? The early 90s, no one cares. We care about, the first half of 2014.
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I know yesterday you were telling me that some people were giving me some abuse on the SBR forum videos because I finally had a losing week last week. Well, I went and looked back. Going back to last year, my NFL preseason picks were 20-11 as far as my premium plays are concerned. So the proof is in the pudding. At a winning year again this year in the preseason. We don't touch week 4, so we've already clinched a winning year in the preseason. We're going to have another winning year in football. So no, we had a great year in college and pro football last year, much like my 26-year career.
Well, Rice and Notre Dame is what we're going to discuss now, and this is a very similar game to UCLA Virginia, what we just talked about. Similar spread and maybe a similar talent discrepancy. Notre Dame's a 20.5-point favorite. Notre Dame looks very, very strong. They've got a three-headed monster at running back. Golson's back at quarterback, and Rice on paper is looking a little bit chintzy. They've had some injuries as well. So, looking at over, at some point it seems like Notre Dame's going to have the chance to pull away by a wide margin here. So I think I'd rather have Notre Dame at minus 20.5 than Rice at plus 20.5. What do you make of this game and these lines, Joe?
Yeah, the spread is similar, but the situation's much different. Like we said there, where one team was traveling 2,000 miles. Obviously, that's not the case here for the Irish, but there's and in fact, I'm not going to say exactly who it is, but get my premium picks. There's a player that I think is going to be a little bit more important than the return of Eric Golson this year, but Golson might be the second most important return to any team this year. Remember, he was the quarterback who led them to the national championship game 2 years ago. I think we said in a couple of our videos last year that Notre Dame clearly was going to be hurt by his academic suspension last year. He came back. He said all the right things. We know the kid can play. He is back. He is far and away the most valuable player for the Fighting Irish. It wasn't any fluke they went to the national championship game. They just so happened to have been the best team outside of the SEC when the SEC was far and away the best conference. I think just about any other non-SEC team was going to get blown out by Alabama in that national championship game. But yeah, despite the suspensions, Notre Dame is much better with their most important player back. Rice, they had a pretty good year last year, but they lost some talent, including Charles Rose, who had 15 touchdowns last year, almost 1,300 yards rushing. And I do think that the Irish are in a little bit of a state. They don't necessarily need to make a statement of the pollsters per se, but I think they do want to say to the rest of the country, hey, we are back. Our superstar quarterback is back, and they are a much better team. I think the odds makers maybe reacted a little bit too much to the suspensions. Not to say that there aren't two key players of the 4 players. 2 of them are key on each side of the ball. 1 key player on each side of the ball. But still, I think the Irish are going to tell you that they are most definitely back with their Heisman Trophy candidate back at quarterback.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm thinking that Notre Dame minus 20.5 might be the right side here because, as decent as Rice was last year, they still got beat pretty handily by Texas A&M and Mississippi State. And also, just from what I'm reading, everyone is very aware of the South Florida loss that Notre Dame, the shocking South Florida upset loss that Notre Dame suffered in, I think it was 2011. And so people are talking about it. People are not looking for a repeat of that here. High hopes for Notre Dame this year. All right, I'm agreeing with you, Joe Duffy. Notre Dame minus 20.5 it is. Thanks.